from the reports I'm receiving from Israel. And Netanyahu is trying desperately, I mean desperately, to keep these reports from coming out. Israel's being pounded. They're being pounded right now. And they're using up their weaponry, our weaponry, which is kind of dangerous for us. They're firing 4, 5, 6 missiles at every single missile that Iran sends in. And Iran was smart. They sent in the first missiles as more or less decoys. And they saturated the Israeli air defenses, which include ours, cruisers in the Mediterranean and other things that we're giving them. They saturated them and they fired all their missiles, and they continue to fire their missiles. Iran is not running out. Now they're using even more competent missiles, even better missiles. They used one just yesterday that's not too much different from the Oreshnik that Putin used. It's a hypervelocity missile. It cannot be shot down by any air defense system. It'd be an accident if you shot it down. It's so fast. So he's hiding all this. He's also hiding the fact that a lot of Israelis who have the money are going to the coast and getting a yacht or a small craft and unassing the country. They're leaving because he's forbidden them to leave. This is not going all that well for Israel. And that's another pressure I'm worried about, because if it gets to the point where Bibi tells Trump, we're going to collapse, he doesn't have any choice. He thinks he's going to go in for a penny, in for a pound.
Yeah. Well, I believe, and Dennis, please, but I do believe that, I mean, a lot of times presidents throughout history, it doesn't happen very often, but there are times where a commander-in-chief really holds all the cards. Trump has the ability to make a couple of moves here that can basically completely decimate or outright destroy the state of Israel, and with it, the Israel lobby and their stranglehold over our country. I don't know if he has it in him. I mean, granted, I think he would probably be lined up as a martyr in many ways if he did, because I think they would come after him with everything they've got. But things are getting very precarious right now with the state of Israel, especially with the lockdown, refusing to allow their citizenry to leave. That's a sign of what was essentially happening and has been happening to the Palestinians. Oh, now the Israelis are probably looking at a similar fate if they're not careful, because Iran is not going to let up. They've had enough. It's pretty obvious that they've had enough.
Peter, I will tell you, if you look back, I've been saying for over a year, I'm on record of saying this, that if Israel decided to attack Iran, they will regret it. Why? Because Iran have, as we all know, ballistic missiles, powerful ballistic missiles, and very accurate ballistic missiles. And every time they said they would retaliate, they did. Think about Soleimani. When we assassinated him, they said they would retaliate, and they did, on basis where we had troops in Iraq. When Israel first attacked, they retaliated. And so I knew they would retaliate again, this time more forceful. And guess what? As Larry mentioned, they're being hit more than what is being said. And in fact, the Israelis are restricting what the media can see. The only reason they showed the hospital because they want sympathy, discounting all the hospitals they bombed in Gaza. But now they want sympathy from us, in the world. Oh, they hit a hospital, which really, from what I'm told, it was just an offshoot because it was going after military targets near the hospital. Let me just mention one other thing as well. How did we get here? Which Larry knows because he played some role in this. We had something called the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA, which was working. Iran was abiding by. Guess what? We broke that, President Trump. They were limited in the amount of enrichment. They were abiding by it. Now, have they upped the ante and increased that enrichment? Yes, but think about it too. They want leverage as well to bring us back to the table. So I think a lot of it, we got to think about that too politically. They were probably looking for leverage. Okay, if we increase it to this point, but I've never heard anybody, there may be some hardliners in Iran, but I never had the leadership say, hey, we want a nuclear weapon. They've been saying they don't want it. The Ayatollah, the last word, has said, we want no nuclear weapon. It's all for peaceful means. And so now, why do I tell you all that, Peter? None of this. WMD is not, Iraq was not about WMD. Nuclear weapons, not about nuclear weapons. It is about control, imperialistic opportunities to control the Middle East on behalf of Israel and probably on behalf of us, as Larry would say, because he seems to think, and he got me somewhat convinced, we are the drivers of this. Well, if we're not the drivers, we're absolutely complicit.
And here's the kicker, I think, now that we all be worried about. We can talk all day long about Tulsi and Trump, and we're looking at a situation where it could become near existential for Israel's survival as a state. That means Trump is going in. And that means we wind up ultimately, because bombing's not going to do it. You don't bomb a country as big as Iran with 90,000 people and do anything but make them
90 million.
Make them angry, make them ready to fight you, and start hitting your facilities in Bahrain, at Al Qadid in Saudi Arabia, all over the map. Al Udeid in
Iraq.
Yeah, Iraq. And then the poles will shift in America. The poles will shift, and they'll be killing U.S. people. So the poles will shift, and we're in this war. And I'm telling you, if you didn't like Iraq,
wow,
you will hate Iran, because
Peter,
it'll be trillions of dollars. We'll have to go to a draft because you're not going to get rid of them unless you invade.
I've been saying it, Colonel. I've been saying it. People think it's not serious. I'm telling you, if there is any inkling that Trump is going to blink and he's going to give in, there's going to be a draft in this country. It's going to happen, because there will be no way. I'll tell you the first thing that's going to happen, and it'll happen within the first few months. We all know what it was like. I mean, I went to Rutgers. I saw the ROTC out in full force when I was there leading up to the invasion, and obviously post the invasion. There will be such an intense recruitment to get people into the military. There will be promises, financial promises. And Dennis, you're in Maryland. They are going to go into the toughest neighborhoods in Baltimore and Towson and places like that. And they are going to try to bring people in the most dire of circumstances and say, hey, you want out of this poverty? Come join the military. We'll get you out of here.
Peter, let me comment on that. That may have worked on me. I'll be honest. I didn't join the military out of patriotism. I joined the military based on what you just said.
Necessity.
Now let me tell you this now. The young people of today are more critical thinking. I watch social media. As I tell folks, I don't know how to post, but I'm a TikTok nut. And all the young folks are on TikTok right now putting out, hey, I'm not going. They're putting jokes. I'm not going to fight your war. They're a lot smarter than we are. They're not we were more obliging. We listened to our parents that joined the military. It's out of patriotism. These young folks, I'm telling you, thought when people so-called run into Canada to avoid the draft, these young folks are telling you right now, just get out there on TikTok. We are not going. We are not going. And they're telling us that. And guess what? People like myself and Larry, I'm telling you right now, I came from a military family, Fort Bragg, Fort Liberty, now Fort Bragg. And my dad retired from the Army. I went into the Air Force, spent 28 years. I would not tell anybody to join. Absolutely not, because we've been used as pawns in these foreign policies. Now, you start talking about a draft where, in my opinion, that may be a good thing, because that may stop everything. Because of the fact, I'm telling you right now, these kids are not going to go. Their parents not going to let them go. And I'm going to tell them, I'm going to be out there saying, you shouldn't go, because this is not about the security of our nation. Absolutely not.
That new leader up there in Canada will have 1 million new citizens, 18 to 24 years old, male and female.
You take that to the bank, Peter. I've been watching and talking to the young folks.
Ban on Israelis flying out raises legal red flags, with many needing to leave. And this is from the Times of Israel. This isn't from some, progressive liberal rag. This is from inside the heart of it all. Watchdog group says cabinet resolution establishing exceptions. Committee to grant some citizens permission to depart may violate constitutional right. Well, gee, gentlemen, I wonder who is going to be granted leave from the state of Israel. Could it be the very wealthy people that will just bribe the government so they can end up in, Miami or something like that? Because that's generally how this works. Broad government restrictions against flying out of the country in the wake of Israel's attack against Iran. Just that first sentence alone, in lieu of they attacking another country, you can't now leave. Not the, hey, we were unprovoked and attacked. Oh, we can't go anywhere now. No, that's not how this works. So the attack on Iran last Friday, facing tough legal questions as apparently large numbers of Israeli citizens. It's okay when you're committing genocide on the Palestinian people. When the boomerang comes back in your direction, it isn't so pretty. A cosmopolitan nation like Israel, they don't stand any chance of doing anything. It's all the dirty work that supposedly we're going to do on their behalf. But thankfully, the nation's waking up to that reality. And so, of course, seeking to leave the country for various reasons, there's only one reason they're trying to leave, are currently being prevented from doing so. Although small numbers of foreign citizens and Israelis have been able to leave through sea and land borders, Israeli citizens have not been able to buy plane tickets out of Israel, apparently due to concerns for aviation security during the ongoing conflict with Iran. One private attorney who is preparing a petition to the High Court of Justice has received requests for help from dozens of Israelis who need to leave the country for a variety of reasons, including some who simply live abroad. Of course, with their families, but have been stranded in Israel since the beginning of Operation Rising Lion, more like Operation Cowardly Lion, against Iran. Meanwhile, the Movement for Quality Government has demanded that the government explain a cabinet resolution it passed on Wednesday conditioning flying out of the country on approval by a government-led exceptions committee. This is a very dire situation, gentlemen, and I don't know what Netanyahu hopes to accomplish, but I'm also of the mind, as I'm sure you both are, that he's not even in Israel right now. He's running this from afar and having all of his lapdogs like Gavir and Smotrich do his bidding because they're all nuts. How do you see this unfolding? How are they going to be able to prevent the people from leaving when Tel Aviv is getting absolutely bombarded at this point?
I actually heard him say today, and it made my blood curdle. He said, with some emotion, which he can manufacture at the drop of a pen, they're killing civilians. They're killing civilians, referring to Iran. I couldn't believe I was hearing it, but it's him. It's him. That's the sort of thing he does. They've been
even better. How about him complaining about the fact that he was supposed to be going to Miami for his son's wedding? We've got to postpone the wedding, and that's terrible.
Why is his son in Miami? As you talked about before, Peter. Why is his son in Miami?
Because it's
he doesn't get killed.
Oh my God! Let me tell you, that's one of the reasons why Wasserman Schultz is still in Congress, because she has a tremendous amount of support from the Israel adjacent network that resides in Southeast Florida, particularly in the Fort Lauderdale and Miami areas. That's where they are. And that's where a lot of them have relocated to, including to where Jen lives. They're, as she likes to point out, they're all in her Pilates classes now. They're all showing up. This is honestly, this is just another version of Cuba. That's all.
Peter, we all know now that Bibi Netanyahu cares nothing about anyone, almost like Trump, but himself. So you think about this, for a moment. For all the destruction that's happening in Israel right now, the only time you saw him out, as I alluded again, when he talked about, they're killing civilians, when he went to that hospital. He knows how to do disinformation. They're killing civilians, forgetting that he killed so many civilians in Gaza, as Larry mentioned. They're destroying hospitals. Where does he show up at? At that particular hospital. And so he can care less about his people. And I'm being quite serious about that because we know that now. It's all about him now and his survivability.
Great. Well, the watchdog group said the resolution was especially problematic in light of the explicit constitutional right to leave and enter the country laid down in basic law, human dignity and freedom, as well as previous high court rulings determine the right to be fundamental in a democratic country. Transportation Minister Miri Regev said Thursday night that Israel was preparing to operate outgoing departure flights starting Monday to help. Can you imagine what that airport in Tel Aviv is going to be like on Monday? To help tourists, diplomats, and Israelis leave the country subject to the approval of the Exceptions Committee. Now, I could tell you guys, and we have seen this before, and we know how this is going to go down. Whoever is bribing the most are the ones who are going to leave.